When I say the word superhero to you, 9 times out of 10 you'll automatically think of characters like Superman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Batman, the X-Men, the Flash, and the recurring theme here is that you initially think of characters from the big two comic book publications, Marvel and DC. And that's rightly so. These two companies have dominated the superhero genre with an iron fist the past 75 years or so. And yeah, it makes sense. Their characters are so iconic, the aesthetic of their worlds are timeless, and their stories resonate with a lot of people. But I am here today to showcase some of my favorite superhero titles and franchises outside of these two bubbles, with characters and stories and concepts that are as good, if not even better, if not even more compelling than what we were given. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so kicking off with number 10, we are going to go with Robert Kirkman's Invincible. Invincible is from the Image Comics publication. In the comic book space, Image are kind of like the third ranked company when it comes to comic book popularity in the West. They put out titles like Todd McFarlane's Spawn is also from Image, The Walking Dead, Saga, Kick-Ass, and a bunch of other independent titles. Invincible, you could say, is their superhero mascot when it comes to it. It's a world very much loaded with heroes and villains, following a lot of conventions you see in your typical Spider-Man or Superman book. The influences are clearly on its sleeve. It follows a boy called Mark Grayson. He is the son of this world's version of Superman, Omni-Man, an alien who came from the planet Viltrum. Mark is a high schooler. He's just your typical average high schooler, and like he's just wanting to wait for his powers to kick in. His powers do eventually kick in, and it's pretty much him becoming the superhero Invincible. Okay, you may think, bro, that just sounds like your typical, like, conventional, like, generic superhero story, but that's totally intentional by the writer. As the story goes on, you realize the world, the tone slowly dials in terms of violence and maturity. This story, I can't lie, is not for kids. Don't let your kids watch this. It subverts a lot of conventions that you see in your typical superhero story, but it still retains a lot of those fantastical elements in the genre. Robert Kirkman, the creator of the story, knows the superhero genre from back to front. The guy's a genius. And fun fact, for those who don't know, Robert Kirkman, the Invincible writer, also made The Walking Dead, so that's like the biggest flex you can have as a writer. And unlike your average typical comic book, the story does like eventually like move forward. The characters do grow. A lot of characters do get killed off, and eventually the story concludes. It's very satisfying to see that in the superhero genre, I can't lie. It very much reminds me of something like Naruto, like manga in general, where like there's an actual end to the story compared to like Western comics that just never end. I would say that, I don't know, the closest comparison I can think of is the Ultimate Spider-Man series. Unfortunately, that's like the only synopsis I can give to the story. There's a lot of mic drop moments in this narrative, and a lot of plot twists as well, especially in the early issues and early episodes. Just take my word for it, it's goated. You can read it in comic book form or either the Amazon animated adaptation. They're both just as good, so take your pick. Number 9, I love cartoons. Okay, listen, yeah, Cartoon Network was my domain growing up, so I have to mention the Powerpuff Girls. 3 little cute girls that were chemically created by Professor Utonium and become the guardians and protectors of the city of Townsville. It's a very fun and light-hearted episodic series, but surprisingly stacked with a lot of content. Created by Craig McCracken, who is a legend in this industry, the Powerpuff Girls use their powers to fight crime and save the world from evil threats. But they also have to tackle regular normal kid issues as well, and plenty of life lessons are learned from this. I would watch this back in the day just specifically for the action, but surprisingly on rewatch, again, a lot of life lessons are shown. But also, again, it has that fun factor since these girls have superpowers. The art style matches its vibe so perfectly. Very much a Hanna-Barbera style with its clean and flat shapes. Also has a very bright color character design. And I have to say, it's definitely one of the first like few Western like animated shows to blend that anime influence with the Western cartoons. It's definitely paved the way for stuff like Avatar and Teen Titans. The show is just pure fun, cute, and kawaii charm. Okay, number 8. Next up, we got a very underrated series that surprisingly not many gamers talk about in the community, Infamous. And for this iteration specifically, I'm gonna go with Delsin Rowe from Infamous Second Son, a PlayStation exclusive created by Sucker Punch, a developer that made the legendary Ghost of Tsushima title, and also the classic Sly Cooper trilogy. In a world where superheroes are considered to be called bioterrorists and are hunted down by the DUP, you know, you're like your typical like evil corporate like villain group militia, you are put in the shoes and play as Delsin, a graffiti artist who discovers that he has superpowers and aims to help to protect the people of Seattle. You are given a plethora of unique abilities: neon powers, smoke abilities, concrete powers, parkouring your way around the city. The game is kind of like what if Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Insomniac Spider-Man like had a kid. That's infamous Second Son for you. It's very much like X-Men, where like you have people that think conduit/heroes are good people and important, while others believe you are scum and like inhuman. And this theme and this narrative plays like a big role within Delsin's story and family dynamic, as his brother, as one of the main side characters, is a cop. His brother's like a cop. He has to uphold the law, but like again, he's conflicted like with his family morals as well, since like his brother is like, you know, a terrorist. The moral conflict is there and it's extremely compelling. And the great thing about this game in like the gameplay side of things is that it has a calm system, so you can kind of choose the way you want to play, whether that be more violent and like chaotic or like more heroic. If you want to be the good guy, go for it. If you want to be more of the bio-vigilante, go for that. The game is a blast. Seattle is just a beautiful city to explore and traverse around, especially with neon powers, with the rain aesthetic. When it's raining, oh bro, it's chef's kiss. Please play Infamous Second Son or any of the other previous Infamous games as well. We need more like independent, like non-licensed superhero IPs. Yeah. Infamous Second Son. Next up, number 7 is pure Saturday morning cartoon vibes with The Tick, animated superhero show created by Ben Edlund, and it's pretty much about a blue big macho spandex wearing dude from what I can remember, he never had a concrete origin story. He was just a superhero who was competing at a superhero convention and then was transferred to the city to become a superhero in the city. Yeah, the city is called The City. It's an amazing name. What can I say? Don't ask me why. So he has to battle crime and evil tyranny. The world itself is just overpopulated with superheroes, but it's extremely funny because 99% of the superheroes are just terrible at their job and horribly ineffective. This series is just a pure parody of the superhero genre as a whole. Super absurd villainous plots and schemes, and even the cast of like heroes and rogues are surprisingly stacked in the show. And the Tick himself is just, he's great, he's hilarious. Like he's just in superhero mode 24/7. He has no alter ego. He has this really fun like dynamic with Arthur, who's like his sidekick, who dresses up as like a moth. Arthur is more of the grounded like regular type character in this show. He's just like, you know, like your typical average dude. He wants to be a superhero. He hates his like regular 9-to-5 job. Just the usual stuff, you know, paying rent, paying bills, working a 9-to-5. That's Arthur. So with like Arthur being the regular guy and the Tick being in superhero mode 24/7, you have this really fun clash between them with like absurdism and realism. So grab yourself a bowl of cereal, sit cross-legged in front of your TV and watch The Tick. Spoon. The next superhero series is a unique one, and I'm gonna be honest, it's one of my favorite like shonen battle anime ever, and that is My Hero Academia. In a world where 80% of the world's population are born with powers or quirks in this instance, the concept of superheroes are very prominent in this world, and honestly they're perceived more like sports stars or celebrities. We have like superhero work agencies, we have superhero like schools and training if you want to become a superhero as a career role. And so we follow a character called Izuku Midoriya, a young high school student who is born with no powers at all, but his dream is to become the greatest hero of all time. Through various events, he bumps into All Might, the #1 ranked superhero of the world. He's basically the Superman of this world and has a lot of Western comic book iconography to his character. So Midoriya has been gifted powers by All Might and has enrolled into UA, the best superhero school in the country. And yeah, we watch Midoriya slowly grow up into his own, from a bullied kid when he was younger to eventually a legit superhero. It's a great story about perseverance and never giving up, even when like the entire world is against you, when all the odds are against you. And I'm a sucker for shonen like genre tropes like that. If you're a fan of stuff like Naruto or One Piece, just switch out pirates or switch out ninjas for superheroes instead, and that's My Hero. You are going to eat it all up, trust me. Plus, like, since it's called My Hero Academia, most of the story does take place in a high school setting, so you get this really cool like fusion between a shonen battle anime series as well as like a slice of life drama. It's something that you don't really see that much when it comes to, I guess, superhero like subgenres. It's very unique. The animation itself is like, wow, sometimes we get like top tier quality Sakuga animation. It's so crisp. The scale of the fights are so lit. The unique powers here that we get are some power like ideas and concepts that you wouldn't even think about. The writer is extremely creative. So yeah, My Hero Academia plus ultra. Oh, number 5. Next up, it's morphing time. Coming from the tokusatsu genre and based off Super Sentai, how do I explain myself what Power Rangers is to someone, because there's so many different variations and seasons? I would say it's a group ensemble of 5 or so individuals who are bestowed fantastical abilities and suits and are hand-selected to face off against evil forces. They are usually recruited and trained by a much more wiser and experienced mentor figure and are given morphers. These morphers give them access to transforming into their ranger suits, giving them epic abilities and weapons, as well as these these giant ass colossal robots to fight off kaijus, and it's about these individuals growing as a team and fighting together, facing off whatever alien or robot invasion they're against. The great thing about Power Rangers, like this genre as a whole, for me personally, is that it's extremely practical. You get real explosions and pyro, all the suits and props are practical, even the Megazords and kaiju fights. It's literally just guys in costumes. It's amazing, I love it. Like as a kid watching Power Rangers, I wanted like every action figure and prop from the show. In addition to this, I'm a very big action film fan. I'm a big fan of martial arts. Most of the hand-to-hand combat and fight scenes are pure martial arts. Legit, the actors in these suits know their stuff. Bear in mind, this is technically a kids like series, a kids show. Like this is a kids show, and Power Rangers honestly has like better fight choreography than like most like big budget blockbuster films. Okay, now you might be intimidated on where to start with Power Rangers because like the series has been going on for 25 plus years. My advice would be personally, just have a browse. Just have a browse and see what genre you like. Each season kind of has its own like genre space to it. So every season is very distinct from each other. If you're a fan of ninjas and elemental powers, I would recommend Power Rangers Ninja Storm. If you're a fan of epic space fantasy, mythical creatures and swords, I'd recommend Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. If you're more of like a Harry Potter fan and you like wizards and wands and capes and like that aesthetic in general, I'd recommend Power Rangers Mystic Force. Me personally, I love like police cop shows and movies. So Power Rangers SPD Space Patrol Delta is up there. I absolutely love it. And if you're a fan of just pure martial arts and hand-to-hand combat, no doubt I'd recommend Power Rangers Jungle Fury. I guarantee at least one of these like seasons or shows will click for you. I guarantee it, trust me. And of course, as always, may the power protect you. Number 4. The next superhero series is by far the most underrated and deserves more love than anything else. Generator Rex. Created by Man of Action and a Cartoon Network series, a series that really pushes the boundaries of a Cartoon Network series in terms of that PG rating. Sort of set in like a post-apocalyptical world. The world has gone through like a nano-biotech pandemic. Sounds familiar? This bioweapon has caused and infected many people around the world with nanomachines inside them. These nanomachines can go haywire at any time and it turns them into crazy, mindless monsters. These monsters are called Evos. However, a boy called Rex Salazar by chance is an anomaly in this plague world and can control these nanomachines, acting as a cure to the human race. These nanomachines also give him the ability to transfer his body into biomechanical weapons. It's lit, from guns to jetpacks to cannons to giant like jump boots. It's awesome. He can legit do it all when it comes to like making his body into a weapon. He's taken in by a private task force who sends him out on missions to take out and cure other Evos. The main conflict of this show is the idea of youth versus like the adult corporate world. Rex himself faces a lot of loneliness in this story and strives for friendship. He just wants to be a teenager and have fun, but is treated like a weapon by people around him, which sucks. The themes of this show surprisingly like reflect a lot of the way the world is now in modern times. I can't lie, it's shockingly like accurate. Rex as a character oozes that teenage freedom and charisma. We have like a punk rock soundtrack further emphasizing that youthful rebellion. As well as being from a Hispanic background, I really appreciate the diversity given here. My elevator pitch for this show, honestly, it sounds mad, but I would say it's a mix of something like Spider-Man with the Resident Evil series. Mix that together and you have Generator Rex. Okay, so we are now in the top 3. To be honest, depending on my mood, any of these 3 are pretty much interchangeable. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Number 3 goes to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, TMNT. It may be a bit controversial depending on who you talk to, but the TMNT might not be seen as superheroes and they're more like an action team or like a team of vigilantes. But again, I still say they are superheroes. Again, Batman is a vigilante, but he's still classed as a superhero. Like with the Turtles, they live in New York, they save and protect people, they have masked identities and uphold a moral code. Plus, again, if you didn't know, like their origin is straight up a parody of the Frank Miller Daredevil comic book. So yeah. 4 baby turtles in the sewers of Manhattan happen to be drenched upon a mysterious green ooze, morphing them into humanoid creatures and taught by a wise rat who knows martial arts. The concept sounds so absurd coming out of my mouth, but it works, man, it works. It's up to the 4 brothers to uphold justice in the crime-ridden city of Manhattan, doing it from the shadows as ninjas. What's really amazing for me about the TMNT series as a whole is that it's just extremely malleable. One story can focus more on like a gritty, down-to-earth feel, something like a Batman story you can get, where the Turtles have to deal with like gang warfare. Their origin story ties back to rival Japanese clans in feudal Japan. The Hamato clan, where Master Splinter, their rat sensei father, comes from. The rival clan, the Oroku clan, aka the Foot Clan, aim to take over Manhattan and the rest of the world with an iron fist. So it's very like Game of Thrones-esque with its blood feuds when you really dive into it. It's insane, actually. Trust me, that the TMNT, man, there's so much lore within this story. Like literally, this is about turtles, like talking turtles. And like on the other hand of the spectrum of storytelling, turtles like time travel into the future and into the past. They fight intergalactic dimensional aliens and dinosaurs. It becomes extremely absurd. But despite all the absurdity and action and like fantasy of like the story, the main core of the story is about family and brotherhood. The brotherly like family dynamic is actually unmatched. It feels real, man. These are turtles, but they legit feel like brothers. I guarantee, like, if you haven't seen TMNT at all, you will definitely see yourself in one of the four brothers, whether that be the wise, older, like level-headed brother of Leonardo, the short-tempered and rebellious nature of Raphael, who always just loves to fight and scrap people, the free-spirited and empathetic pizza-loving party dude of Michelangelo, and the genius analytical thinker of Donatello. Honestly, this may be a hot take, but I genuinely believe outside of the worlds of Batman and Spider-Man, TMNT may have the best like cast of rogue villains and side characters in Western comics. There's so much lore within the world of Ninja Turtles and its history. It's crazy. There's so many different variations now with TMNT. But I would personally recommend watching the 2003 animated series. The 1990 TMNT, like the first ever live action movie, has really good storytelling, amazing practical effects, and great like martial arts choreography. That's definitely a shout as well. Or if you want like the most content and story in general, in quantity of story, I'd also recommend the IDW comic book run. Honestly, if you haven't watched TMNT, you are in for a treat. Yeah, and also I'd recommend having pizza while experiencing this. So yeah, Cowabunga. Okay, number two. Oh, man, number two. Number two. We're in the top two, and oh boy, like, who's next? Our number two spot goes to the hero for fun. Saitama, aka the One Punch Man. This show, this anime, this manga was a complete like breath of fresh air, man. 2015, we were in the midst of like the MCU, Infinity Saga, the DCEU kicking off into its Snyderverse with Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. Wonder Woman as well. The Arrowverse was already established, dominating TV at the time. And streaming, like superhero shows and streaming were going strong with Marvel, Netflix, with Daredevil and the rest of the Defenders. And in between all of those superhero shows and movies and projects, we have One Punch Man standing out. A hero who breaks every single parameter in the book. And just a regular dude who can defeat any opponent with one single punch. Look, I'm not even joking, like he's that absurdly strong. But in doing so, he's come to the point where he's trained himself so much. He's kind of way too strong, he's bored. And with that lack of challenge, we just follow him on his day-to-day as an independent superhero. At face value, One Punch Man may come off as just this mundane action gag character. And yes, although there is a lot of gag elements in it, the story has a lot of heart and emotion. Saitama has grown depressed with the fact that everything has become overwhelmingly boring to him. Global level threats, galaxy level threats mean nothing to him. Similar to Invincible, One Punch Man is pretty much a subversion of the archetypes and tropes we see in the genre of its storytelling. Like deep here, every single anime protagonist that you've watched, Luffy, Goku, Naruto, Midoriya from My Hero Academia that we previously mentioned, they push themselves and train themselves throughout the entire story to hit that target, to become the best at what they want to achieve at. But no one ever asks like what happens after they reach that goal. And One Punch Man deals with that premise. It deals with the premise of the value of struggle. It's a very unique take from a storytelling perspective, I must say. As well as the fact that, again, One Punch Man, it still retains a lot of good storytelling themes. Like never giving up no matter how weak you are. I'm literally just getting chills thinking about like one scene specifically. The show is just filled with so many like inspiring moments, so many heroic moments, top tier animation and character design. One of the manga industry's best in the business, Yusuke Murata, did the designs of the characters and they are absolutely breathtaking. Like it's on its peak anime, man. There's just so many jaw-dropping scenes, man. I'd also recommend to check out how the story of One Punch Man came to be. It could turn into another hour video if I kept rambling on about it, but I'd definitely like look up the author and how he pretty much published One Punch Man. It's a super inspiring origin, especially if you're an aspiring writer or manga artist. I would definitely recommend it. One Punch Man is one of my favorites. And number one, here we are. My all-time favorite superhero that's not a Marvel or DC character, they can go away. A character that I've loved since I was a wee little lad. Benjamin Tennyson, aka Ben 10. Created by Man of Action and a show that was aired on Cartoon Network. It's about a 10-year-old boy who discovers a watch-like device which attaches to his wrist, giving him the ability to turn into 10 different aliens, each alien having its own quirks and abilities. He travels with his cousin Gwen and grandfather Max to fight off evil. So yeah, he becomes a superhero. The Omnitrix, the watch that's attached to his wrist, is pretty much the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. So Ben pretty much becomes a giant target for a lot of extraterrestrial threats. The story progression for the show is done so smoothly. We go from your fun, like typical episodic villain of the week type episodes. And like as the story progresses, as the seasons progresses, it just becomes like this, it just slowly just turns into like this space sci-fi fantasy epic. The world building as a sci-fi like series, as a superhero sci-fi series, is incredible. This show means a lot to me just because I was like in that perfect age bracket when the show aired. I would legit run home from school, sit down in front of the TV cross-legged and just watch TV and watch Ben 10 all day. I was hooked, honestly. It was amazing times. I would literally just draw out the characters of the aliens while watching TV. I own the toys and action figures. And honestly, Man of Action, the creators of this show, and Generator X were a main factor and source of inspiration on why I wanted to become a comic book artist and animator. The show has a really crisp art style, straight out of like a graphic novel, and the character designs of the aliens are so detailed and distinct from each other. Heat Blast, for example, is a fan favorite, fully flamed like necromancer type alien. We have Upgrade, who's like this like slimy gooey type alien who can like go into tech and upgrade it into like something a million times more advanced. Honestly, you can legit just watch this show just for the character designs alone. They're so badass, man. Ben himself comes off as a bit of a brat, I can't lie. He's very self-centered, he's very cocky, but matures eventually during the course of the story as he learns that his powers and gifts come with a lot of responsibility. Again, he's only age 10, so he's still learning life, and he just wants to play games and be a hero. Just like what any other boy would want to be, honestly, at that age. But he comes off as very, very resourceful, I can't lie. Sometimes in the episodes where Ben's like in a situation and he wants to change into an alien, the Omnitrix sometimes glitches out, making him transform into an alien he doesn't want to. So he has to pretty much adapt to the current situation he's in. And the family dynamic is the emotional pillar and the emotional weight of the story. Gwen and Ben have their typical like cousin-sibling rivalry during their journey. They want to like rip each other's throats out pretty much every episode. But when they're on the front lines, like they're like this together, man. Grandpa Max as well, acting as like the mentor adult father figure for the two siblings, who has like an air of mystery behind him, I can't lie. It's a bit spoilery, so I don't want to say anything about like Max's background, but he's very, very important as well to the lore and narrative of Ben 10. And as seasons go on, the characters do grow up, develop, and age. Honestly, again, it's like Invincible, where like the characters, it feels like a manga series as well, or like an anime series. There's development. It's not like this episodic one and done thing. Ben 10 to this day, the concept of the Omnitrix is one of the coldest like fictional props I've ever like come across. The Infinity Gauntlet's got nothing on the Omnitrix. Yeah, if you haven't watched Ben 10, do yourself a favor, man. Trust me, you're missing out. I'd definitely 100% I'd recommend it. You are in for a treat. Oh man, yeah. And there we have it. Those are my top 10 non-Marvel / DC superheroes. That was a very, very fun video, I can't lie. Please let me know what you guys think down below. Who's your favorite like superhero outside of the, you know, the typical Marvel DC realm? I really want to know your thoughts, because I don't know, I think more of these franchises deserve like a lot more recognition and limelight to them. Especially again, Ben 10, Generator X, One Punch Man, Power Rangers. Yeah, man, like. But yeah, with that said, I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and I shall see you guys in the next video. Peace.